All right, we are going to start our Woods 1 drafting number 1. So the first thing we need to do is get our paper squared in the center of our tablet. Remember, I'm going to have the head of the T-square on my non-dominant hand. I write with my right hand, so I'm going to have the head of my T-square on the left. I want my paper near the center. I want my T-square tight to the edge. I slide my fingers across. I put the paper nice and flush with that edge. I keep a hand on it and I tape it down. Well, I keep that hand on it. I don't move it until I get at least 2 corners taped down. That would end step 1. This is where you pause your camera, do that step. Now, step 2, we'll be doing the border lines. See, the border line is a 1/2 inch in from the edge of the paper. Okay, this is the border line. So this distance here to here is a 1/2 inch, 1/2 inch, 1/2 inch, 1/2 inch. Even though it might not be on the paper because this has been run through a copy machine, so it could have been slid one way or the other, so it won't be a true 1/2 inch. Yours will be, because you know it is a 1/2 inch. Okay? All right. So I'm going to take my ruler, which I don't have, so I'm going to pause. All right, I zoomed down in a little bit closer. Now I like to do my measuring in the center of the space. Makes it more accurate. If I put my measurement clear up here and I draw my line down here, it's real easy to be a little bit off. So I like starting with my, if you see this first section, see if we can get it in focus here, goes clear down to 30 seconds. I like using it up here where it only goes down to a 1/16 of an inch. Remember, your big one in the center is a 1/2 inch. So from 1 to your 1/2 inch mark would be a 1/2 inch, correct? Correct. So let's mark that in on each side. If I put my 1 right on the 0, I put a nice little light mark going away from the ruler, not a long one. Not one along the ruler. Along the ruler is not accurate at all. Okay, I'm going to do it on the top. Set an edge right on 1. Come into a 1/2, mark it. Set this side on 1. Come into 1 1/2. That'd be a 1/2 inch. Now I'm going to cheat down here. I'm going to set it on 11. So I'll come back to 10 1/2. That's a 1/2 inch. So I have 1 mark per side. Now I can set my pencil straight up and down right on that mark. Keep it tight over here. Slide it right up to my pencil. Slide my hand across. Hold it down nice and tight. Real light construction line all the way across. Come down to the bottom. Hold it tight, slide your T-square right up to it. Real light construction line all the way across. Bring your T-square down, hold it tight, put your pencil on, slide it over to it, hold it tight, draw line to line. Put your pencil on the mark, holding it T-square tight, slide it over. Draw line to line. Wasn't that pretty fast? Now, since you drew nice and light, I can erase that. Can you see that? I can't see that. If you drew it dark, oh yeah, I could see it, and I'd take points off on your draftings, because that's not very neat. Okay, that's nice and neat. Okay, you can also see if you got your paper square, because that line will look even with that edge. If that line doesn't look even with the edge, something's wrong. Either your paper wasn't square or you didn't keep your T-square square. Okay, that's where I would pause it and do the border line. Now the next step would be the title block. Okay, this bottom line on your title block is this line that we just drew, the border line. Okay, so this is a B border line all the way. Then your title block goes from there up. If we put a ruler on the bottom, like I said, I like to start for this right on 1 inch. If I put my 1 inch mark right on that border line, you can see these two lines on the inside, my total is a 1/2 inch. That's my title block, 1/2 inch. Then I have these two lines on the inside, which are called guidelines. So 1/8 of an inch is the bottom guideline, 3/8 and a half. So 1/8, 3/8, half. 1/8, 3/8, half. So if I come to my border line, put 1 inch there, put a nice little mark at 1/8, 3/8, half. Now I have my marks for all my lines. Put my pencil on the mark, slide the T-square up to it, hold it tight, draw from line to line. Pencil on the mark, slide the T-square to it, draw from line to line. Pencil on the mark, slide the T-square up to it, make sure it's tight. Draw from line to line. Okay, does that look the same? Sure does. Same height. You can check, just remeasure. Bottom to top is 1/2 inch, correct? Let's look on that. 1/2 inch. Just actually, I'm a teeny bit over, not much, but okay. Now let's do our division lines. If we put our 0 right on the border line, let me just do this. Let's zoom in on it. Reach. Okay, if we put our 0 on the side border line, you'll see that the first division line is on 2.5 inches. Second one is on 5. And the third one is on 7.5. So if you can remember that, 2.5, 5, 7.5, you can lay out your division lines nice and easy. Okay, put your 0 on the border line. 0 on the border line. Put a little mark at 2.5. Nice little mark away, not a long away. Nice small. 5 inches, put a little mark. Come to 7.5, little mark. Then take your T-square, put your pencil on that mark, slide your T-square over to it. Start at the top or bottom, draw your line. Okay? Go to put your pencil on your next mark, slide it over to it carefully. Hold it tight to the edge. Draw your line. Pencil on it, slide it over, all the way, draw your line. Now you're broken into your 4 divisions. Okay? Inside these 2 inside lines, again, were your guidelines. You see your lettering is all capital letters. Woods, class, period, whatever yours is. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Drafting number 1. Don't write date, put the date. Today's date is what? 12/1/20. Don't write name, put your name. Okay? Mr. Reinwald. Okay? Now your name does not have to be all in capitals. It can be however you want to do it. just as long as I can read it, your first and last name. Okay? So let's do our lettering. I'll show you how I want it done. It's time consuming, but it's not that bad. Nice and carefully, guideline to guideline, you draw it. Taking your time, making sure to get line to line. So Woods. Now you can drop the C. I don't care if you put the C in. Just put period, number, whatever class period you're in. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So I'm just going to go period. I'll say 1. Class period 1. Okay? Drafting dr.1. dr.1. Drafting number 1. Don't write date, put it. Let's see, like 12-1-20, or not dash, slash. Then do your name however you want, as long as I can read it. I recommend you go over your name in ink so that no one can erase your name, put their name on it, and turn it in. Okay? So that's, I strongly recommend. Now you see I didn't do any of my lettering, like small case D. I didn't do any of my lettering like that, leaving a gap. It is all line to line except for your name. Okay, that ends that step. Next step I would do would be to find the centering of your drawing space. To do that, your drawing space is obviously inside your border line and above your above your title block, excuse me. So an easy non-math way to find that would be a line from opposite corner to opposite corner of your drawing space, and then vice versa. Opposite corner to opposite corner, and where they meet in the center would be the center of your drawing space. But let's not make a whole bunch of work. Let's just do our line in the center. So I like to tip my T-square over so the head part is up. Line it up to that corner and the opposite corner up there. Now I'm going to envision where this other corner, where they are going to meet, and I'm going to draw a real nice light construction line. Don't draw it the whole way. Why do it when you'll turn around and erase it all? Why create work for yourself? So opposite corner to opposite corner. Right where that crosses that line, there's your center point of your object. Okay? That would be my ending point of this step. Next step is to start drawing your object. Now we want your object centered in that space, so we got to find the center of your object. Your object is 4 inches wide. So from the 0 to 4 is 4 inches, correct? That's easy enough. What is half of that distance? What's half of 4? 2. Okay, so if we put 2 right on that very center mark and came over to the 0, put a little mark, over to the 4, put a little mark, then we just located where these sides of our rectangle. Okay, so now we want to start drawing in these sides. I'm not going to worry about how high it is at the moment, because we're going to draw it with construction lines that are real easy to erase. Okay, so I know roughly that the line's going to be roughly about right there. Okay, so I'm going to again put my pencil on it, line it up, draw a real light line, making sure I'm a little bit farther than what I need. Same thing, put my pencil on it, draw a real light construction line, further than what I need, but not a whole lot. Okay, so now we have our uprights. Now we need to find our top and bottom. It's 3 inches tall. What is half of 3 inches? Half of 3 inches would be 1.5. So let's put 1.5 in the center. Mark 0. Mark 3. Okay, now we can line up to draw these lines. Now I like to cheat. You have an extension line out right here that are straight in line with our object lines. Okay, these down here are straight in line with our object lines. So I like to cheat a bit, save time, and kind of help myself out doing it right now. So I draw real light construction, line to line, leave a little bit of a gap, and a real light line out. Same thing, line up, slide my T-square to it, real light line, a little bit of a gap, draw a line out. Okay, so I actually have my rectangle is now drawn. It just needs to be darkened. And we need to go on with our extension lines, our gap, and our dimension lines and our arrows. Okay? This gap is 1/4 inch. You put it on any of the inch marks, put the object line on any inch mark, you can see that the line starts at 1/4 inch, and if you look at it ends at 3/4 because it's a 1/2 inch long line. If you measure just the length of the line itself, it would be a 1/2 inch. I like to do it this way. The line starts at 1/4, the dimension line is at 1/2, and it ends at 3/4. Starts at 1/4, dimension at 1/2, 3/4. 1/4, 1/2, 3/4. 1/4, 1/2, 3/4. So I'm going to come down here, put any inch mark, it doesn't matter. 1/4, 1/2, 3/4. Now I can erase my excess. Okay, so there is my extension line. Let's take our T-square, line up with the start of that line, come up to the top, put a teeny little mark right on the line. Come to the end of that line, T-square over, put a teeny little mark. Erase your overhangs. In between, be real careful. And now we can do our extension line. Okay, dimension line. This line right in the very center with the space for our number, which is visually in the center. Okay? So, and that would be coming off the center point of that line. Okay, so I'm going to line up. I'm going to the center, so I'm going to put my finger right there. Then I'm going to lightly draw my line, pick it up, and on down. So that gave me my space for my number. And a pause for a second. All right. Now do the same thing down on the bottom. Okay, take one of them. Measure off your object. Remember your line starts at 1/4 inch, teeny little mark. Center, our dimension line is at 1/2, ends at 3/4. If you want, just come across and do the same thing here. 1/4. I don't need the center, so 3/4. Quarter, 3/4. Okay, erase the excess. Right up carefully to those lines, but don't erase your marks. When you're done, you don't want to be able to see those marks, but for now you do. Okay, so we can put where our dimension line, slide it up to it where it just barely touches. Visualize where that center is going to be. Run your line over to it and on out, and there's a space for your center. Go ahead and do that step. Your next step is to do the arrows. Okay, contrary to popular belief, these arrows are not done by freehand, and they are not done by gesta angles. Okay, this is a 30, 60, 90 triangle. Okay, so if your T-square is tight, and if we put it like this, that's a 90, that's a 60. If we put it down like that, that's a 30, that's a 90. If we flip it over here, that's a 60, that's a 30. Okay, so the arrows come off of these arrows come off your dimension line. This dimension line, these arrows come off 30 degrees away from that dimension line. 30 degrees away. You can see from here, those are on different angles, aren't they? This dimension line is on a 0. This line is on a 90. So 90 minus 30 would be a 60. So you need to use your 60 angle here. And this is on a 0. 0 plus 30 is 30. So you use your 30s. Okay, so hold your T-square tight. Let's move it down a bit. Hold your triangle tight to it. Put your pencil right in the center point. Slide it up to it. Draw back about 3/16 of an inch. Okay, I like to cheat again. I just slide it over. Put your pencil on the point. Slide it up. Draw it down 3/16. So see how we did that? Drew it. Slid it over, drew it, keeping your T-square tight, not letting it change. Now is where some kids get lost. Okay, they drew it just like that and that. Roll it over. Flip it up and down. So you're rolling it over. Make sure your T-square is tight. Set your pencil right on the point. Slide it right up to it, draw it back that same distance at 3/16. Put your pencil on the point, slide it up to it, draw it down 3/16. There's your arrows. What was our dimension? 4 inches. Just like that. Now I don't want to see a solid line with your dimension above it. I don't want to see a solid line with your number or dimension written right through it. I want it done like that. Okay, now on your side, doing your arrows. They're on a 60, correct? Because this dimension line is on a 90. Okay, so if you remember, the shallow angle is a 30, steeper angle is a 60. Same exact thing. Put your pencil on it, slide it over to it. Draw it back about 3/16. Keep your T-square tight. Put your pencil right on it. Slide it to it. Down about 3/16. Take and roll it over. Use your 60. Going the other way. T-square tight. Slide your triangle to it. Draw it back. Let's put your pencil on it. T-square tight. Recheck. Slide it to it. Not quite happy with that. Slide it to it. Draw it. Okay. What do we put here? 3 inches. 3-inch. All right. Now you would erase all your overhangs, get everything good and clean. Then you would erase your X in the center. Then you would come back around and start darkening. You do it the same exact way. Put your T-square type or pencil right on it. And you want to check both ends to make sure. I like to actually pull into my line so I can make sure I am staying right on that line, because I don't want to get a double line. So I like to check, check, and pull into it. Then I can watch the tip of my pencil to make sure I stay right on that line. It should be erased out of there. And you darken everything up with your object lines. Okay? Do your extension lines. Everything should be darkened. All right. Do border lines. They're dark. Title block lines, division lines, everything. Nice, sharp, dark lines. Not fat and fuzzy. No double lines. Sharp lines. Okay? That'll end this step. This drawing.